A man who tries to buy desire ends up broke, but a man who knows how to carry himself makes others invest in him. That's a hard truth, my friends. You've been told over and over that if a woman isn't interested, you should buy her flowers, send her long texts, maybe even prove yourself by being extra nice. But let me hit you with something that might sting. Those things don't make her want you. They make her forget you. Attraction doesn't work like a vending machine where you put in effort and out comes love. No, attraction is fire. And fire doesn't light because you throw wet wood at it. Before we go deeper, press that like button right now, hit subscribe, and stay with me until the end. Because if you click away early, you'll miss the exact keys that flip indifference into desire. Trust me, you don't want to miss this one. Hey folks, imagine this. You're standing in a desert, thirsty, your lips cracked, and someone hands you water every 2 minutes. Do you crave it? No, because you're drowning in it. But if that same person disappears for a day, suddenly every drop of water feels like treasure. That's how women feel about men who overgive. Too much presence makes you invisible. Absence makes you unforgettable. Here's the first lie we've all swallowed. Women want effort. Wrong. Women want impact. They don't remember the guy who texts 10 times a day. They remember the man whose silence makes them question themselves at night. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." The truth is, the man who knows his value doesn't need to fight for attention. His energy speaks louder than his words. Now I know what some of you are thinking. But what if I lose her if I don't try harder? My friends, listen closely. If you can lose her by pulling back, she was never yours to begin with. And here's the twist. When you stop chasing, when you stop handing out your attention like free samples at a grocery store, that's when she actually starts to crave it. Scarcity makes diamonds priceless. Scarcity makes fire burn brighter. Scarcity makes you wanted. Let's break another lie. Looks and money are everything. If that were true, every rich man would have women chasing them forever. But how many of you know stories where the guy with average looks, no flashy lifestyle, still captured a woman's heart over the better men around him? It wasn't because of his wallet or his jawline. It was because of the way he carried himself. Calm, unshaken, confident. Confidence, my friends, is the currency women can't resist. Think of it like a movie. The best ones don't tell you the ending in the first 5 minutes. They give you suspense, mystery, tension. That's what makes you lean in. Women are the same. If you're an open book from the start, every page visible, every thought exposed, where's the thrill? But if she has to wonder where you are, what you're doing, what's really on your mind, that curiosity is what keeps her hooked. And let's add a little humor here. You ever notice the guy who acts like a puppy? Always there, always wagging his tail, waiting for approval. Cute for a moment, right? But nobody falls in love with a puppy. They fall in love with the lion who doesn't beg for attention, who moves with power, who knows his worth. Don't be the puppy, be the lion. So here's what I need from you right now. I want you to write these words in the comments. I am the prize. Say it to yourself. Say it to the world. Let everyone see that you're not chasing. You're not begging. You're not trying to force anyone to want you. You are the standard. You are the fire. You are the prize. Stay with me, my friends, because what's coming next will show you exactly how to turn that truth into action. But first, hit that like button, subscribe, and let's take this journey together. Because today is the day you stop doubting, stop chasing, and start becoming unforgettable. Your affirmation, I am the prize, write it below and stay with me. Number 1. Why desire isn't about looks or money. It is not what you have in your hands that makes you wanted. It's what you carry in your presence. Let that sink in, my friends. Because if we're being honest, most of you have been sold the lie that women only want men with six-pack abs, expensive cars, or fat bank accounts. That's the story movies, magazines, and social media keep feeding us. Be rich, be ripped, be flashy, and you'll never be ignored. But here's the hard truth. If looks and money were truly the keys, then why do so many good-looking, wealthy men get left behind while average guys, men you wouldn't expect, end up being the ones women obsess over? It's not about looks, it's not about money, it's about something deeper, something intangible, something invisible but undeniable, your presence. Think about it like this. Picture a man walking into a room. He's not the tallest, he's not the most stylish, he's not the loudest. Yet somehow, people turn their heads. He hasn't said a word, but the room shifts when he enters. That, my friends, is presence. And presence is not bought in a store. Presence isn't stitched into a designer suit. Presence comes from within, from self-belief, from energy, from the unshakable feeling that you don't need to prove yourself to anyone because you already know your worth. Now, I know what's crossing your mind right now. But if I don't have money, or I don't have the looks, won't women just overlook me? That fear is real. That's the fear society plants in your head, so you'll chase material validation. Bigger houses, bigger muscles, bigger paychecks. But here's the truth. Women don't crave your possessions. They crave the way they feel around you. As the quote goes, they may forget what you said, they may forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And when your presence makes her feel safe, curious, and drawn in, she'll remember you long after the rich guy with the flashy car has faded from her memory. Let me break another lie wide open. If you want to be wanted, you have to give more. No, sometimes giving more makes you invisible. Look at it like this. You walk into a store and see a giant pile of cheap plastic rings, thousands of them, all shining in the light. Do you stop? No, because abundance makes them worthless. But then, in a locked glass case, you see one diamond. Suddenly, it has value. Scarcity creates worth. The same is true for you. If you're constantly throwing yourself at her, trying to buy her attention, you're like those plastic rings. Plenty, replaceable, forgettable. But when you hold your value like a diamond, rare, not desperate, that's when she starts to lean in. And yes, it will feel difficult at first, because we've been trained to think, if she's pulling away, I should try harder. If she's not interested, I should prove myself. But what you don't see is that effort without presence is desperation. And desperation kills attraction faster than anything else. The hardest step is pulling back when your heart is screaming to push forward. The hardest step is saying, I don't need to prove myself. I am the proof. That's where presence is born. That's where desire grows. Think about a flame. If you try to smother it with your hands, you put it out. But if you step back and let the oxygen feed it, the fire roars. Women don't want to be smothered by constant texts, calls, and gestures. They want the oxygen of your absence, the tension of your silence, the thrill of not knowing your every move. Presence isn't loud. It's not desperate. Presence is the quiet, steady flame she can't ignore. And here's another truth bomb. Women are not logical when it comes to attraction. They're emotional. You can't reason your way into her heart. You can't bribe your way into her mind, but you can make her feel something that logic can't argue with. That's why you see a woman turn down the so-called perfect guy on paper, only to chase after the man who seemed to give her nothing but mystery and confidence. She wasn't calculating his worth with a checklist. She was feeling his presence in her bones. Now ask yourself, how do you make her feel? Do you make her feel suffocated? Or do you make her feel intrigued? Do you make her feel like you're begging for a chance? Or do you make her feel like she has to earn you? That shift, my friends, is everything. Because the truth is, Women don't chase men who hand themselves over for free. They chase men who stand so firmly in their own worth that she can't help but want to be a part of it. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And I'll add this, the desire she feels for you depends on the quality of your presence. If your thoughts are weak, your presence is weak. If your thoughts are desperate, your presence is desperate. But if your thoughts are strong, grounded, confident, that's what she feels. That's what makes her want you. So yes, breaking this mindset will be hard. You'll fight against years of lies, fears, and habits. But every step you take away from desperation is a step closer to power. Every time you choose silence over chasing, mystery over explanation, confidence over insecurity, you're building a presence she can't ignore. And when presence enters the room, desire follows. Here's what I want you to do right now. Write this in the comments. Show it to yourself. Show it to the world around you. I am the proof. Say it out loud. Type it below. Because you don't need to flash your wallet. You don't need to carve your body into perfection. You don't need to beg for her interest. You are the proof. Your presence is the diamond. Your confidence is the flame. Stay with me, my friends, because in the next part we'll go deeper into how silence, not words, creates the pull that makes her think about you when you're not around. But for now, let the world hear you. I am the proof. Write it down, believe it, live it. Because this is the moment you stop trying to buy attraction and start becoming unforgettable. Number 2, the power of absence. A man's silence often screams louder than another man's 1,000 words. Think about that for a second, my friends. We've been taught the opposite since childhood. If you like her, tell her. If she doesn't respond, try harder. Don't let her slip away. And yet, the harder you chase, the faster she disappears. Why? Because human nature doesn't crave what is always there. It craves what might slip away. Women don't miss the man who texts them morning, noon, and night. They miss the man whose absence forces them to feel the gap he leaves behind. Imagine this. You live next to a train track. At first, the noise at night keeps you awake. Every horn, every rumble shakes your body. But over time, you stop noticing. The sound is constant, predictable, always there. One night, the trains stop running. Suddenly, the silence wakes you up. You notice what's missing because the noise is no longer guaranteed. That's the psychology of absence. She only notices you when you stop flooding her with presence. And I know what fear is creeping up in your chest right now, but if I stop texting, if I stop calling, won't she just forget me? That's the lie, my friends. That's the trap. You believe your value lies in your constant effort, when in reality, your value is in your restraint. A man who knows when to step back is far more powerful than the man who drowns her in attention. It's absence that creates mystery. It's absence that creates curiosity. It's absence that plants the seed of desire. Marcus Aurelius said, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." And what is silence but the calmness she doesn't expect from you? While other men are panicking, typing long paragraphs, begging for replies, the man of presence knows the value of stepping back. That calm restraint becomes strength in her eyes. It separates you from the noise. Let me give you another metaphor. Think of music. What makes a song beautiful isn't just the notes, it's the spaces between the notes. If there were no pauses, no breaks, no silence, music would just be noise. The silence in between makes the notes matter. Your absence is the silence in the song of her life. When you stop sending constant good morning texts, when you let a day pass without checking in, when you disappear long enough for her to wonder, suddenly your presence becomes music. Now don't confuse absence with childish games. This isn't about ignoring her to prove a point. This isn't about manipulation. It's about balance. It's about showing her without words that your life doesn't orbit around her attention. It's about proving that you're a man who values himself enough not to beg for validation. That, my friends, is the energy that pulls her back. But let's be real, pulling back is not easy. Your mind will fight you. You'll feel the itch to reach out, the panic that silence means you're losing her. That fear is your test. The weak man caves, the strong man holds, and the reward for holding is watching her curiosity bloom. She starts checking her phone more often. She starts scrolling through your profile. She starts wondering, why hasn't he messaged me? Who is he with? What is he doing? That wondering is the birth of missing you. Let's break the lie right here. Women don't miss men because of what those men gave them. They miss men because of what those men withheld. Too much of you, and you become background noise. Just enough absence and you become the echo in her mind. Picture this. You've been talking to a woman for a while. At first, you text often and she replies quickly. Then, her responses slow down. Short, dry replies. Most men panic at this stage. They think, I have to try harder. They double their messages, add more emojis, ask more questions. And what happens? She disappears even faster. But imagine you do the opposite. You stop, no message for a day, then 2. Suddenly, her phone feels too quiet. She scrolls through expecting your name, but nothing. That gap in her expectations becomes tension, and tension is the root of attraction. Another truth, absence, forces her to measure your value. If you're always there, she has no reason to think about you. But the moment you're not, she has to ask herself, do I miss him? And if your presence carried impact before, the answer will be yes. But she can only realize it in your absence. Seneca once said, absence is to love what wind is to fire. It extinguishes the small, it inflames the great. If what you had with her was weak, your absence will kill it. But if what you had carried spark, your absence will turn it into flames. Either way, your silence reveals the truth. Here's the catch, my friends. Absence is not about punishing her. It's about protecting you. It's about reminding yourself that your value is not in constant pursuit, but in your ability to step back, breathe, and let her feel the gap. It's about choosing peace over panic, and peace in itself is power. So, why is this so hard for most men? Because we've been taught that chasing is love, that constant effort is romance, that silence is cruelty. But look around. Does chasing get you respect? Does begging get you desire? Or does it bury you deeper into invisibility? The truth is painful but freeing. Women don't want men who need them. They want men who don't. Absence proves you don't need her. That's why it works. Let me leave you with this vision. Imagine yourself as a mountain, solid, unmoved, standing tall. The clouds may come and go, storms may roar, but the mountain doesn't move. That's your energy. When you stop rushing, stop pleading, stop flooding her with attention, you become immovable. And the irony is, it's in your stillness that she starts to move toward you. So here's your affirmation, my friends. My silence has power. Write it in the comments. Show yourself, show me, show the world around you that you are not afraid to step back, that you are not afraid of absence, that you understand silence isn't emptiness, it's strength. Stay with me, because what comes next will show you how scarcity, not abundance, makes you unforgettable. But for now, remember these 4 words. My silence has power. Write it down. Believe it. Live it. Because the man who learns to master absence never has to beg for presence. Number 3, scarcity versus availability. The more easily you are reached, the less deeply you are valued. Let that sit in your chest for a moment, my friends, because if you've ever wondered why a woman stops appreciating you after you've given her all your time, all your attention and all your energy, this is the reason. When something is always available, it loses its value. That's not just female psychology, it's human psychology. And until you understand this principle, you'll keep making the mistake that turns desire into boredom. Picture this with me. Imagine you walk into a bakery. There's a tray of free cookies sitting by the door. You grab one. The next day, same tray, same cookies. You grab another. After a week, do you even notice the tray anymore? Probably not. Why? Because abundance kills appreciation. But now imagine that same bakery only bakes one special cookie every Friday. Limited, rare, and people line up for it. Suddenly, that one cookie has more value than 100 free ones. That, folks, is scarcity. The moment you understand that your time and attention are the special cookie, you'll never again waste it by handing it out freely. Now here's the lie most men believe. If I'm always there for her, she'll see my loyalty and choose me. Wrong. Being always available doesn't read as loyalty. It reads as desperation. Loyalty without scarcity feels cheap. It's like saying, I love you 10 times in 1 hour. At first it feels sweet, but soon the words lose weight. They become background noise. Availability is the same way. When you reply to every text instantly, cancel plans just in case she calls or say yes to every request, you teach her one thing: you're easy to get. And what's easy to get is easy to forget. I know some of you might be thinking right now, but isn't effort what women want? Don't they say they love consistency? Yes, consistency matters, but consistency without boundaries turns into suffocation. There's a difference between being dependable and being disposable. A dependable man has his own life, his own mission, his own world. He shows up when it matters, but he's not a doormat. A disposable man drops everything the second she snaps her fingers. And let's be real, who do you respect more? The person who gives you everything without asking, or the one who makes you work a little to earn their time? Respect comes from scarcity, not from constant access. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Apply that here. If it doesn't build value, don't give it away. If it doesn't create mystery, don't overexpose it. When you make yourself too available, you hand away your value for free. When you learn to say, "I can't, I'm busy," or "not this time," you create space. And in that space, desire grows. Think of it like firewood. If you keep throwing logs into the fire non-stop, the flames choke under the weight. But if you place wood strategically, letting the flames breathe, the fire burns hotter. Availability is the same. Overload kills the spark. Controlled scarcity keeps it alive. But I won't lie, this is difficult. Why? Because we crave validation. When she texts, your instinct screams, "Reply now." When she calls, your heart races, "Answer immediately." That instant reaction feels like love, but it's actually fear. Fear of losing her. Fear of not being enough. Fear of being forgotten. And here's the paradox. Your fear of losing her is the very thing that makes you lose her. Because fear-driven availability makes you look like a man who doesn't have a world beyond her. And no woman wants to be with a man who has no world of his own. Let me tell you something that might sting. Women don't crave men who orbit around them. They crave men who have their own gravity. A man whose life is so full, so purposeful, so rich with meaning that she feels lucky to even be part of it. That's why she desires the man who says, "I can't see you tonight, I'm working on my goals," more than the man who says, "I cancelled everything for you." One communicates strength, independence, and scarcity. The other communicates weakness, dependency, and over-availability. Which one do you think she respects more? Here's another metaphor. Imagine you're holding a glass of water. At first, it refreshes you, but hold it too long and it becomes a burden. That's how constant availability feels to her. At first, she might like it, but over time, it weighs her down. She doesn't crave it anymore, but if you only offer that water at the right moments, when she's truly thirsty, it becomes life-giving. Scarcity makes your attention water in the desert. And let's break another lie while we're here. Scarcity doesn't mean playing games. Scarcity isn't about ignoring her just to create fake demand. That's childish. Scarcity is about genuinely valuing your own time. It's about having hobbies, passions, goals, and priorities that don't vanish just because she sent you a message. It's about showing her that while you care, you also care about yourself. That balance is what makes her crave you. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Many men waste their time by giving it away too cheaply. They waste it on endless texting, endless waiting, endless availability. But when you guard your time, when you make it scarce, suddenly, every moment you give her feels like a gift. She notices, she values it, she misses it when it's gone. Now, some of you might still resist this truth. You might say, "But I don't want to lose her. I want to show her she's important." Listen closely, my friends. Scarcity doesn't mean she's not important. Scarcity means you are important too. It means you're not willing to sell yourself for cheap. It means she has to meet you halfway. That shift changes everything. Because when she realizes you're not available at the snap of a finger, she starts to chase. She starts to value. She starts to want you. So here's the challenge. Stop being everywhere. Stop replying instantly. Stop dropping everything. Learn to say, "Not today." Learn to disappear for a few hours. Learn to let her wonder what you're doing, who you're with, where your energy is flowing. That wondering creates desire. That space creates missing. That scarcity creates value. And here's your affirmation for today. My time is rare. Write it in the comments right now. Let the world see it. Let yourself see it. Because when you start treating your time as rare, others will treat it as precious. Stay with me, my friends, because in the next section, we'll uncover another hidden truth. That mystery, not full honesty, is what keeps her hooked. But for now, remember this. My time is rare. Type it below, show it to the world, and live it. Because the moment you stop giving yourself away for free, you become the man she can't afford to lose. Number 4. Mystery creates craving. It's not what you reveal that makes you irresistible. It's what you leave unsaid. My friends, lean in for this one, because most men sabotage themselves right here. From the very beginning, they pour everything out. Every thought, every plan, every detail of their life. They believe honesty equals attraction. They think transparency builds closeness. But here's the hard truth. Too much honesty too soon doesn't build attraction. It kills it. Desire isn't born from what's fully known. Desire grows in the shadows of mystery. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you pick up a book, and on the very first page, it tells you the ending. No twists, no suspense, no surprises. Would you keep reading? Probably not. You'd close it and move on because there's nothing left to discover. Now, imagine another book that hints, teases, builds suspense, leaves you hanging at the end of each chapter. You can't put it down. You crave the next page. That's the difference between a man who reveals everything immediately and a man who leaves enough mystery to make her lean in. Women don't crave open books, they crave stories worth chasing. And here's where most men fall into the trap. They confuse honesty with overexposure. Don't get me wrong, honesty matters. But honesty doesn't mean emptying your entire soul on the first date. It doesn't mean telling her your every insecurity, your every plan, or your exact schedule like a walking calendar. That doesn't create intimacy. It creates predictability. And predictability is boring. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If your thoughts are desperate for validation, your words will overshare, over-explain, and overexpose. But if your thoughts are grounded in self-respect, you'll know this truth. The less you reveal, the more powerful you become. Because curiosity, my friends, is the seed of desire. Think of it like firelight in a dark cave. If the cave is fully lit, nothing is exciting. But if there are shadows, corners, and flickers of light, suddenly the imagination fills in the gaps. She starts to wonder. She starts to project. She starts to crave. Mystery gives her mind work to do. And when her mind is busy thinking about you, her heart begins to follow. Now, some of you might be asking, but won't she think I'm hiding something if I don't tell her everything? That fear is what makes most men expose themselves too quickly. They believe withholding is deception, when in reality withholding is a lure. Mystery isn't lying. Mystery isn't manipulation. Mystery is simply not showing every card you hold. You don't need to tell her everything for her to trust you. In fact, the opposite is true. If you give her everything too soon, she has nothing left to chase. Let me give you an example. Two men text a woman. One says, "Good morning, I'm going to work, then the gym, then I'll have dinner with my mom, then I'll come home, shower, watch TV, and sleep. What about you?" The other man simply says, "Morning, got a full day ahead, I'll catch you later." Who do you think she'll think about more throughout the day? The second man. Why? Because he didn't give away the whole story. He left space for her imagination to fill in. That space is where craving grows. Here's the lie most of us swallowed. If she knows everything about me, she'll want me more. Wrong. If she knows everything, she has no reason to wonder about you. And wondering is the spark of desire. Seneca said, "It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable." Apply that here. An unconquerable man is not the one who empties himself on the table. He's the man who remains a little out of reach, a little undefined, a little unpredictable. He's not hiding, he's holding back just enough to keep her leaning forward. Let's get real here. Why is mystery so attractive? Because mystery forces her to chase. When she doesn't know everything about you, she invests her energy in figuring you out. That investment creates emotional attachment. The more she invests, the more she values. And the more she values, the more she wants. Now, I won't lie to you. Keeping mystery alive takes discipline. Because deep down, we all crave to be understood. We all want to be seen. And when a woman gives you attention, the temptation is to spill everything, hoping she'll like you more for it. But that's weakness. That's fear. The strong man understands this. Your story is precious, and not everyone deserves every chapter right away. Think of yourself like a rare painting. If it's left out on the street for everyone to see, it loses its aura. But if it's displayed carefully, with limited viewings, people line up, waiting just for a glimpse. Scarcity creates mystery. Mystery creates craving. Here's something else to consider. Mystery isn't just about what you say, it's also about what you do. Be unpredictable. Don't let her map your every move. If she knows you'll text her every morning, don't. If she assumes you'll cancel plans for her, don't. If she thinks she's figured you out, change the rhythm. Predictability is the death of desire. Unpredictability is its heartbeat. Let me hit you with a quote you won't forget. A lion does not announce every step he takes. He moves in silence, and the world feels his presence. That's the energy of mystery. You don't tell her everything. You let her feel it, wonder about it, crave it. Now, some of you might be resisting this, saying, "But I don't want to play games." Listen carefully, my friends. This isn't about playing games, this is about balance, about remembering that too much exposure makes you ordinary. A man who leaves a little room for curiosity isn't dishonest, he's unforgettable. So why is this so hard for most men? Because it requires patience. It requires you to believe that you're enough without spilling your soul on the first date. It requires you to stand firm in your value, trusting that if she wants to know more, she'll earn it over time. And that, my friends, is real strength. Here's the bottom line. Women don't want men who lay out the whole puzzle. They want men who give them just enough pieces to keep playing. They don't crave the man they fully understand. They crave the man who keeps them wondering, keeps them chasing, keeps them leaning in. So here's your affirmation. Curiosity is my power. Write it in the comments right now. Let the world see it. Let yourself feel it. Because when you learn to embrace mystery, you stop being just another man in her life. You become the unanswered question in her mind. And questions, my friends, are unforgettable. Stay with me, because in the next part we'll dive into something even deeper, why confidence, not love, is the most addictive quality a man can carry. But for now, remember these 4 words. Curiosity is my power. Type it, believe it, live it, because the man who embraces mystery doesn't need to chase, he makes her crave. Number 5, confidence over love. Love without confidence is dependency, and dependency is never attractive. My friends, let that cut deep for a moment. Because this right here is where so many men lose the game without even realizing it. They think if they just love her harder, shower her with affection, give her their loyalty on a silver platter, she'll finally see their worth. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Women aren't drawn to love first. They're drawn to confidence. Love without confidence feels like weakness. Confidence without love still gets respect. And respect, my friends, is the foundation of real desire. Let me give you an example you won't forget. Picture 2 men standing side by side. One writes poems, sends long texts every night, pours his heart out, and gives everything up front. The other speaks less, but every word drips with certainty. He doesn't try to convince, he doesn't beg, he doesn't prove. He simply is. Which one do you think she remembers when she closes her eyes at night? It's the second man. Not because he loved her more, but because he believed in himself more. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." The truth is, love without confidence lowers your worth in her eyes. It makes you look like a man whose entire ambition is her validation. And while that might feel romantic to you, to her it feels suffocating. Because deep down, she doesn't want to be your world. She wants to be drawn into a man who already has a world of his own. Confidence is the magnet that pulls her into that world. Let's break the lie right here. If I just love her enough, she'll want me. Wrong. Love isn't what makes her want you. Love is what keeps her once desire is already there. But desire doesn't grow from love. It grows from strength, from certainty, from confidence. Think about it like this. You've seen it happen. A woman passes over the nice guy who gives her everything and instead chooses the man who isn't half as sweet, half as giving, or half as predictable. Why? Because the second man had that quiet, unshakable belief in himself. Women don't lose sleep over men who bend. They lose sleep over men who stand. Here's another metaphor for you. Imagine being on a ship in a storm. The waves crash, the wind roars, and chaos surrounds you. Who would you trust more? The sailor who's panicking, clinging to others, screaming about love and devotion? Or the captain who stands firm at the wheel, steady, calm, unshaken? You'd follow the captain every time. Why? Because confidence gives you security. Confidence makes you feel safe in the chaos. That's exactly how women feel. Love is nice, but confidence is security, and security is addictive. Now, let me talk about why this is so difficult for most men. Because we've been trained to think that vulnerability equals attraction, that giving everything equals proof of worth, that wearing your heart on your sleeve from day one is the key to winning her. But here's the painful truth. Vulnerability without confidence is weakness, and weakness repels. You can love her with everything in you, but if you don't love yourself, she won't respect you. And without respect, there is no attraction. Seneca once said, "Most powerful is he who has himself in his own power." Read that again. The man who controls himself, who commands his own emotions, who doesn't beg for anyone's validation, that man is powerful. And women crave that power far more than endless words of affection, because power signals strength, power signals stability, power signals leadership. Think about the men women chase in movies, in history, even in your own life. Were they always the nicest? No. Were they always the richest? Not always. But they carried themselves with certainty. They walked into a room and didn't need to be noticed, but were noticed anyway. They didn't need to announce their worth. Their presence made it undeniable. That's confidence. And that's what lingers in her mind long after you've left the room. Let me give you another image. Confidence is like firelight on a cold night. Love might make her smile, but confidence makes her warm. Love might give her comfort, but confidence gives her security. And security, my friends, is what makes a woman crave your presence. She can get love from anyone. But confidence, that's rare, that's unforgettable. Now, I know what some of you are wrestling with right now. You're asking yourself, but what if I'm not naturally confident? What if I doubt myself? Listen closely. Confidence isn't arrogance. It isn't about pretending to be better than everyone else. True confidence is quiet. It's the way you carry yourself, the way you make decisions without hesitation, the way you speak without seeking approval, the way you can walk away if respect isn't given. That kind of confidence isn't born overnight. It's built, it's chosen, it's practiced. And here's the thing. Confidence is contagious. When you stand tall, others feel taller around you. When you believe in yourself, others begin to believe in you. Women feel that energy. They feel it when you look them in the eye without flinching. They feel it when you don't rush to fill the silence. They feel it when you choose your path without waiting for permission. That's what pulls them in. But here's the harsh truth. Love without confidence makes you dependent. And dependency is heavy. It doesn't attract, it drains. When you depend on her validation, on her replies, on her approval, you give away your power. And the man who gives away his power is forgotten. The man who keeps his power is remembered. So let me break it down simply. Women don't miss the man who writes the longest texts. They miss the man whose presence feels unshakable. They don't crave the man who bends over backwards for their approval. They crave the man who doesn't need it. They don't lose sleep over the man who gave them everything too soon. They lose sleep over the man who gave them confidence, stability, and mystery. That's the difference. And here's the quote that sums it all up. Confidence doesn't whisper, "I love you." It whispers, "I don't need you." And that's why she can't stop thinking about you. So, my friends, here's your affirmation for today. My confidence makes me unforgettable. Write it in the comments right now. Don't just type it, believe it. Because love without confidence makes you dependent. But confidence with or without love makes you powerful. And power is what makes you linger in her mind long after you're gone. Stay with me, because next we'll go even deeper. I'll show you how to flip indifference into desire. The exact steps that make a woman who didn't care at first suddenly wonder where you've gone. But for now, let's anchor this truth together. Write it down, shout it if you must, show it to yourself and to the world. My confidence makes me unforgettable. That's your power. That's your presence. And that's what will make any woman want you, even if she didn't at first. Number 6, reversing indifference. Indifference is not the end. It's only a mirror reflecting how much of yourself you've been giving away. Let's start here, my friends, because I know how heavy this part feels. Nothing cuts deeper than indifference. Hate you can feel, anger you can respond to, but indifference, that cold, silent nothingness, it feels like death. You send a message, she replies with one word. You share a story, she shrugs. You give your best effort, and it's met with blank stares. It's in those moments you start believing the worst. She doesn't care. I've lost her. Nothing I do will matter, but let me shatter that lie right now. Indifference is not permanent. Indifference is not the final chapter. Indifference is a reaction, a test. And with the right response, you can flip it. Picture this: a glass of water left on the table. At first, it's cold, refreshing. But over time, untouched, it grows stale. That's what happens when you give her the same energy day after day, chasing, proving, repeating. It becomes predictable, boring, stale. Her indifference isn't because you're not enough. It's because you've made yourself too available, too certain, too easy to measure. The truth is, she hasn't stopped noticing you. She's just stopped feeling you. And that, my friends, can change. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." What does that mean here? It means you cannot control her reactions, but you can control your energy. You can control whether you keep pouring into her indifference or whether you step back and let silence do the heavy lifting. Because here's the paradox. When she shows indifference, your instinct is to push harder, to text more, to prove more, to beg more. But that instinct is your enemy. The more you push, the more her indifference grows. The more you retreat, the more her curiosity wakes up. Imagine a crowded room where one person suddenly goes quiet. Everyone else is talking, laughing, making noise. But the one who stops speaking draws the most attention. Why? Because silence shifts the energy. When she shows you indifference, don't add more noise. Remove your presence. That absence forces her to notice. That gap forces her to feel. And feeling, even confusion, is the doorway back to desire. Now I know what you're thinking. But what if I lose her completely if I step back? That's the fear that keeps men chained. But listen carefully. If indifference is already here, you've got nothing to lose by stepping back. You've already been forgotten in her mind. So why not risk being remembered? Stepping back is not the loss. It's the only way to win. Here's the truth. Indifference thrives on your over-availability. It feeds on your constant effort. When you stop feeding it, it starves. When you break the pattern, when you no longer respond on command, when you no longer bend just to hold her attention, that's when she feels the shift. That's when she looks at her phone and wonders, wait, where did he go? Why isn't he chasing? That wondering is the crack in indifference. That's the seed of curiosity, and curiosity is what flips into desire. Think about fire again. If you keep blowing on embers non-stop, you smother them. But if you pause, if you give space, the oxygen returns and the flames rise. Indifference is the same. You don't fight it with more air. You fight it with stillness, with absence, with controlled energy. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Apply that here. Indifference makes you crave her attention more, but craving makes you poor in her eyes. Wanting less, needing less, craving nothing, that's what makes you rich in her eyes. When you no longer chase her attention, you show her that you are not starving for it. You show her that you already have abundance within yourself. That's confidence, that's value, that's what makes her indifference crack and crumble. Let me give you a vision. Imagine she starts pulling back. Your old self panics. You'd double text. You'd send flowers. You'd call late at night. But the new you, the stoic you do nothing. You shift your focus. You hit the gym. You dive into your passions. You build your empire. She expects you to beg, but you don't. And that silence becomes unbearable for her. She checks her phone, scrolling, waiting for your name. It doesn't come. And that gap makes her miss the man she once ignored. That's the power of restraint. That's the power of self-respect. Here's another truth bomb. Indifference is often just a test. Women test without even realizing it. They pull back to see what you'll do. Will you collapse? Will you beg? Will you drown in neediness? Or will you stand firm, grounded, unshaken? The man who collapses proves her indifference was justified. The man who stands proves he was always valuable. Which one do you want to be? Now, this won't be easy, because silence in the face of indifference feels like walking on fire. Every part of you will want to reach out, to prove, to fix. But that urge is fear talking, and fear has never built attraction. Courage has. The courage to hold back, the courage to let her feel the silence, the courage to show her that you are not desperate for her attention, that you are the prize. My friends, understand this. Women don't remember the man who chases them endlessly. They remember the man who had the strength to step back and let them feel his absence. They don't crave the man who gave everything without question. They crave the man who forced them to question themselves. Indifference only wins if you play its game. Flip the script, and it dies. So here's what I want you to do. Right now, type this in the comments. I am not chasing indifference. Write it for yourself. Write it for the men reading beside you. Write it to show the world that you are no longer going to fight for scraps of attention, because your presence is not cheap. Your silence is not weakness. Your restraint is your weapon. Stay with me, my friends, because everything you've heard today is not just theory. It's transformation. And if you're ready to rise above the noise, if you're ready to stop drowning in indifference and start commanding respect, then join me in this movement. Press that like button right now. Subscribe to this channel. Share this video with another man who needs to hear it. Because together we're building a community that understands female psychology, not to beg for attention, but to reclaim power. Remember this as we close. Indifference is not the end. It's an illusion, and the man who respects himself enough to walk away from it, that's the man who becomes unforgettable. Your affirmation, I am not chasing indifference. Type it below. Show yourself, show the world, and let's rise together.